This guy, Mark Zuckerberg, we have to recognize the fact that in reality, he most likely has access to all of our photos, all of our documents, all of our messages. Not only does he own Facebook, and I'm pretty sure we've all had Facebook, but he also now owns Instagram, and we all have Instagram. Follow me on Instagram right here. You feel me? It's right there. Follow me on Instagram. But look it, a lot of people are now claiming that he is not human. And I don't blame him after the statement that Mark Zuckerberg made right here. Because he said, I was human. How do you mess up a statement and say I was human? That's not even a thought that I would ever come to mind. Now, the only justification I could give him for that is because he probably just doesn't hang around the mass population. And it's like, bro, there is no justification for it. I'm not going to lie. So without further ado, we're about to watch this clip right here and then get into this video right here by Patrick CC. We know he always drops great videos. And it's titled The Suspicious Rebrand of Mark Zuckerberg. But let's watch this clip.
I'm gonna bother you because you're human, and I was human. I am human still. But I was just referring to myself in the past. Not that I was not gonna bother you because you're human.
I was not, bro. That was a lot of justification there. It's almost as if he's like half human, half something else. Who knows? But let's get straight into this video right here. Smash the like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and let's see what's going on.
Mark Zuckerberg thinks he has you fooled. He has spent the past year suspiciously transforming his image from the geeky Silicon Valley genius to a red-pilled alpha bro. And all it took was one conversation on the Joe Rogan podcast to expose the evil intentions behind Zuck 2.0. The third richest man in the world wants you to think he is just like you. He dresses like you. He works out like you. He likes to have fun and be silly like you. He even loves his family just like you do. Oh, and most importantly, after decades of harvesting your data and controlling the information shown on your social media feed, he now stands for lower censorship and celebrating your First Amendment right on his platforms. He wants to gain back your trust, but why? Today we are going to uncover what is really going on behind Mark Zuckerberg's new persona. Isn't it ironic that a seemingly antisocial, unrelatable Harvard genius created the framework for the future of human social interaction? If you ever heard Mark have a conversation, you wouldn't exactly mistake him for a socialite.
You seem to be replacing Larry and Sergey as the people out here who everyone's talking about. You're just staring at me.
Is that a question?
Because of his awkward demeanor, frequent glitches in speech, and beady, soulless eyes, some people legitimately believe he is not human, that he is some sort of crash test dummy with AI software installed. And look, even though I try to keep my videos mostly objective and fact-based, I also love me a good conspiracy theory. And Zuckerberg not being a real human has way too much evidence for you to not even consider it just a little bit.
But it is gonna bother you because you're human, and I was human. I am human still. But I was just referring to myself in the past. Not that I was not human.
Zuckerberg, I remember well your first visit to Capitol Hill back in 2010.
Control Houston, please call station for a voice check.
All right, station, this is Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook. Can you hear me okay?
It's a pleasure to talk with you today.
Great to talk to you guys too. And is astronaut ice cream a real thing?
Are the allegations true that you were secretly a lizard? I'm gonna have to go with no on that. I am not a lizard.
And it makes it even harder for him to beat these allegations when he explains to Joe Rogan how basic human conversations work, as if he just made a revolutionary discovery.
Your kind of subconscious kicks in, you start thinking about the topic. So it's like you might not actually have the thing that you want to say until like 5 minutes later.
Right.
And like when we started this conversation, I think like the first few minutes were just kind of slow. It's like warming up. Like I'm like, okay, kind of like downloading into my memory. Like how am I gonna like just explain these different things, but it's I just think that's sort of how people work.
However, we do know that CEOs transform their image and speech to be kind of robotic on purpose. They do rigorous media training because one wrong answer, one wrong word, even a wrong display of emotion can result in overwhelming bad publicity, which could drive down the stock price and upset shareholders. But Mark's robotic demeanor has generated a vast range of conflicting opinions about him, with many believing that he is a power-hungry oligarch looking to destroy human civilization. But to understand where those suspicions came from, we must dive into the dark history of Facebook's origins. Facebook was a stolen idea. In 2004, Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss wanted to create a website for Harvard students to add people as friends, send them messages, and update their personal profiles to notify friends about themselves. They called it Harvard Connection, which was later rebranded to Connect You, and they partnered with Mark Zuckerberg to build the website. But Mark had other plans. In leaked instant messages to a friend from his college years, Mark wrote, "So you know how I'm making that dating site? I wonder how similar that is to the Facebook thing, because they're probably going to be released around the same time, unless I f*** the dating site people over and quit on them right before I told them I'd have it done." He later confirmed to that friend that he intended on screwing the Winklevosses over, and Mark did exactly that. He built Facebook while delaying Connect You, lying to the Winklevosses and not meeting deadlines. As if stealing their idea and sabotaging their company wasn't scummy enough, Mark also showed how conniving he truly is, attempting to destroy the Winklevosses' reputation. After he left the Connect You team, he hacked into their server, exploited a flaw in their system, and created another Cameron Winklevoss account. Before Mark admits, "We copied his account, like his profile and everything, except I made his answers all like white supremacist." Mark was extremely aware of his twisted intentions. He even called Facebook users dumb for trusting him. And your data being in control of someone untrustworthy may not seem like a big deal, but it is. You or I could go to any data broker's website right now and buy anyone's data for a few bucks. It's completely legal. Big companies
they essentially have literally all our data. You have to think about it all the way down to the point of like a lot of people allow the app to have their specific location. That's why when you go on the app, it suggests things that are around you. Same thing like with advertisements, local stores that are around you. He's even tracking all of your whereabouts and moves. It's actually insane.
Poor security are getting hacked every day, and your personal information is being sold on the dark web so spammers, scammers, and identity thieves can target you. If the government can do something like ban TikTok, why won't they protect you from these similar practices? It's on us to protect ourselves, which is why I use today's sponsor, Aura. Aura keeps you safe on alert. Use with even his Facebook cover Aura to find out if any from Zuckerberg's path of destruction. Eduardo Saverin was Mark Zuckerberg's roommate, who loved the idea for Facebook. Eduardo invested $20,000 into the company and was paying for server costs, which was discovered through these leaked messages from Mark's old computer. In return, Saverin was awarded roughly a 30% stake in the company. As the vision for Facebook grew, so did the demands of building it. Mark and the other co-founders packed up and moved to Silicon Valley, the heart of tech innovation, to pour their energy into expanding the platform. Meanwhile, Eduardo moved to New York, focusing on another startup called Jaboozle. Eduardo was responsible for setting up the legal structure for Facebook, raising additional capital, and crafting a solid business plan, which he did not efficiently do according to Mark. As Facebook gained momentum, cracks in their partnership widened. Eduardo's distance from the day-to-day operations frustrated Mark, who had started collaborating closely with Silicon Valley heavyweights like Sean Parker and Peter Thiel. Eventually, Mark and his allies devised a controversial strategy. Through a series of complex and ethically questionable legal maneuvers, they restructured the company to dilute Eduardo's ownership. His stake in Facebook plummeted from 30% to just about 4% by the time Facebook went public. But Eduardo's story didn't fade quietly into the background. Thanks to the dramatic courtroom battles that followed, his own accounts of the events in his book, and the $224 million box office hit movie The Social Network, the world had an extremely negative view of Mark Zuckerberg. Mark said that the movie, quote, made up a bunch of stuff that I found kind of hurtful.
You ever end up seeing the film, the Social Network?
Yeah, I did.
Cool.
The Social Network was a good movie.
And what did you think?
It was interesting.
Interesting. You know what? I'll take it.
Now, some people look at Mark's past as nothing more than a cocky 19-year-old kid making teenage mistakes, while others feel that this is an extremely concerning origin story for the man who currently has control over the privacy of 3 billion people around the world. Mark has fought relentlessly to maintain an incredible amount of power at Facebook. He quite literally cannot be fired. While he only owns about 13% of the company, he also personally controls nearly 60% of the voting voting power of Facebook shares, because there are two kinds of Facebook stock. The Class B shares that Zuckerberg and other insiders own have 10 times the voting rights of Class A shares. Because of Mark's shady past and immense power, the press put a little bit of pressure on him. However, Mark refused to give straight answers, particularly when it came to privacy. Like in 2010, when he was asked a very simple question and began to sweat profusely, panicking for seemingly no reason.
Do you feel like it's a backlash, or do you feel like you're violating people's privacy? Do you feel like you're adequately portrayed as a... Because I want to wonder about the person who actually created this thing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of stuff happened along the way. I think, you know, there were real learning points and turning points along the way in terms of building things. I can't go back and change the past. I can only do what we think is the right thing going forward.
So, before we move off this privacy thing, and I thought that was a fascinating answer.
It's okay. You want to take off the hoodie?
You know, I never take off the hoodie.
I know you don't. What's with that?
No.
Girls?
Whoa.
All right.
Sorry. Yeah, that's okay.
Maybe I should take off the hoodie.
But what exactly was he hiding? Well, maybe the main driver.
I mean, I know what he's hiding. Like, if any of us have ever wanted to post a picture or video to Instagram or Facebook, we literally have to say, allow Facebook to have access to your photos. He has access to everyone's phone. So he knows that too. And he's definitely taking advantage of that. Like, if he's ever wanted to see in someone's photo gallery any girl that he knew or whatever it was, even the freaking president, whatever it is, he knows.
Of his revenue. Since Facebook is a free service, they make nearly all of their revenue by selling advertisements. The surface level business model is relatively simple. The more time users spend on the app, the more ads they can show. Therefore, the goal is to keep growing the user base and keep people on the app as long as possible. But the amount of data that they collect about you in order to show you these ads is not only ethically questionable, it's borderline surveillance. They receive your credit score, your IDs, physical location, political and religious beliefs, all of your text messages, microphone access, web browsing history. They quite literally get access to your...
Microphone access, bro. Where does it say that? App interactions. Bro. And this is exactly why. Whenever you say something out loud, alright, like this phone right now is listening to me, and it's listening to you too. Whenever you say something out loud to your friend, I'm like, nah, I actually need that. Oh, I could use that actually. I want to buy that soon. And then you go on Facebook or even Instagram or even Google and you look at it and then it pops up. They're literally listening to you. Literally.
Credit score, your IDs, physical locations, political and religious beliefs, all of your text messages, microphone access,
web browsing history.
They quite literally get access to your entire life just because you want to use their app and they want to sell you specialized advertisements. Then again, you did agree to their terms of service and you do have the ability to opt out. But the practices they use to keep you on the app is nearing psychological warfare. In 2016, a whirlwind of chaos erupted. We had the most turbulent presidential election in history, the Brexit referendum, and billions of people spending more time than ever before online. And Facebook decided to change the way their algorithm worked. Mark wrote in an update letter, "We will also prioritize posts that spark conversations and meaningful interactions between people. To do this, we will predict which posts you might want to interact with your friends about and show these posts higher in feed." Now the problem was what the algorithm deemed as the most meaningful content. For the most politically oriented 1 million American users, nearly 90% of the content that Facebook shows them is about politics and social issues. Now combine that with an even bigger problem, political and social issues that made people angry were designed to reach the tops of people's feeds. The algorithm had assigned reaction emojis, including the angry emoji, 5 times the weight of a simple like, according to company documents. This meant that millions and millions of people were essentially trapped in an echo chamber of argumentative content about political and social issues. But it gets worse. A private company with sinister intentions was able to obtain private data from Facebook due to inadequate oversight. Remember those goofy personality quizzes you'd see back in the day?
And then people wonder why depression's at an all-time high also.
on Facebook? Well, chances are if you took one, you helped fuel political propaganda. Alexander Kogan created an app called This Is Your Digital Life. The app was presented as a personality quiz that required users to be logged into Facebook to take. So not only did it collect the quiz data, but also all of the personal information that Facebook takes from you. The app also accessed data from users' friends without their explicit consent. Kogan harvested information from up to 87 million Facebook profiles and sold the data to Cambridge Analytica, who then created psychological profiles of Americans for targeted political advertising, deep diving into their exploitable traits obtained from Facebook likes.
The Kenyatta
It gets
campaign,
so deep.
which we ran in 2013 and 2017 for Kenyatta.
And what you have done in the Kenya?
We have rebranded the entire party twice, written their manifesto, done 2 rounds of 50,000 surveys.
Huge amounts of research, analysis, messaging.
And then we'd write all the speeches and we'd stage the whole thing. So just about every element of his campaign.
But Mark vehemently denies that social media contributes to political radicalization or polarization.
Grounding this conversation in the actual research that has been done on this, which by and large finds that social media is not a large driver of polarization. So the question is, what are the unique phenomena in the different places? And I think for the people who are trying to say, hey, social media is the thing that's doing this, I think that clearly doesn't hold up, because social media is a phenomenon that is pretty much equivalent in all of these different countries.
Now, in all fairness, this is exactly how we would expect him to respond. But this raises an even more important question. Is it Facebook's civic responsibility to regulate these radical individuals' behavior? Or is it the user that needs to take accountability for their own actions and beliefs? But is it even their fault if they are being psychologically manipulated by algorithms? Or more importantly, are these politically charged posts even being made by real people? Yes, Facebook is a private company, but have they become too big, too powerful? 65% of America uses one of Meta's products. Therefore, they have direct influence over 2/3 of the country. This resulted in Facebook getting slammed in the media, specifically blaming them for spreading political misinformation that they believe led to the election of Donald Trump.
I was really worried from the beginning about basically becoming this sort of decider of what is true in the world, right? That's like kind of a crazy position to be in for billions of people using your service.
So the company invested in a complicated, bureaucratic operation of independent third-party fact-checkers globally who are certified through the Nonpartisan International Fact-Checking Network. Unfortunately, this system wasn't deemed to be good enough or accepted by really anyone, but more specifically the US government. So they called Mark Zuckerberg in for a congressional hearing in regards to Facebook's privacy and use and abuse of data, and this could not have gone any worse for Mark Zuckerberg. His robotic speech was worse than ever. He was looking incredibly nervous, looking like he had to remind himself that humans have to blink and drink water occasionally. He sat on a booster seat to make himself appear taller. His face was pale white. His eyebrows were non-existent. He had a terrible haircut.
Nah, he's looking like he's definitely on some hard medication.
And there was no soul in his eyes. He looked like an avatar of himself, and it was creepy. But what he said was even worse than how he looked.
Senator, I think as a general principle, I think protecting minors and protecting their privacy is extremely important. And we do a number of things on Facebook to do that already, which I'm happy to get into.
And I appreciate it. I'm talking about a law. I'm talking about a law. Would you support a privacy bill of rights for kids where opt-in is the standard? Yes or no?
Senator, I think that's an important principle. And
I appreciate that.
And I think we should.
Do we need a law to protect those children? That's my question to you. Do you believe we need a law to do so? Yes or no?
Senator, I'm not sure if we need a law, but I think that this is certainly a thing that deserves a lot of discussion.
I couldn't disagree with you more. We're leaving.
Like usual, he couldn't give a straight answer. He is a professional corporate question dodger.
Do they provide the same service you provide?
In different ways, different parts of it,
Let me put it this way. If I buy a Ford and it doesn't work well and I don't like it, I can buy a Chevy. If I'm upset with Facebook, what's the equivalent product that I can go sign up for?
Well, there's the second category that I was going to talk about.
I'm not talking about categories. I'm talking about, is there real competition you face?
Yes, Senator. The average American uses 8 different apps to communicate with their friends and stay in touch with people, ranging from texting apps to email.
And it's crazy because the one and only competition that Facebook was truly facing was Instagram. People were leaving Facebook. I stopped using Facebook, and they were going to Instagram. And now he owns Instagram also.
Service you provide.
Well, we provide a number of different services.
Is Twitter the same as what you do?
It overlaps with a portion
You
of
don't
what we
think
do.
you have a monopoly?
It certainly doesn't feel like that to me.
So after 5 hours of painstaking investigation, the American people learned basically nothing about how Facebook works, what they do with user data, and it did not immediately result in changes in legislation. However, in regards to the Cambridge Analytica scandal, in 2019 the Federal Trade Commission fined Facebook $5 billion for privacy violations. Facebook stole your data, and the government got a payday.
It's tough to be at the other end of that.
What was it like?
Well, it's not good. I think, well, the thing that I think is actually the toughest, though, is it's global, right? So, and really, when you think about it, the U.S. government should be defending its companies. I do think that the American technology industry is a bright spot in the American economy. I think it's a strategic advantage for the United States that we have a lot of the strongest companies in the world. I think it should be part of the U.S.'s strategy going forward to defend that.
But it was about to get worse. If you thought the world was chaotic during the 2016 election, it pales in comparison to the 2020 pandemic. People were locked inside, petrified of getting sneezed on, the virus death toll seemed to be exponentially increasing, and different information came out every day about the proper protocol to stop the spread. Zuckerberg 100% confirmed suspicions that the government was pushing a controlled narrative about the pandemic.
While they're trying to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who is basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were true. Right, I mean, they basically pushed us and said anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is inarguably true.
Now, at the time, if you thought mass censorship was happening, you would have been called a conspiracy theorist. But today, Mark seemingly has the confidence to criticize the US government, specifically criticizing the Biden administration after they lost the 2024 election.
These people from the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse, and it's like these documents it's all kind of out there.
This is what I'm sorry, I want to be on the winning side looks like. Many people believe that Zuckerberg is pandering to the renaissance of private citizens demanding less censorship and less government control over information. And he's shifting all of the blame to the Biden administration that is no longer in power and being like, oh my god, the government is so corrupt, right guys? But he isn't just blaming the government. He is also blaming the third-party fact-checking organization he hired for being too biased. This has resulted in a major change in content policy on Facebook.
First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes, similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote non-stop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US.
One of Meta's fact-checking partners responded to this, saying they used Meta's tools to submit fact checks and followed Meta's rules that prevented the group from fact-checking politicians. Meta ultimately decided how to respond to the fact checks, adding warning labels, limiting the reach of some content, or even removing the posts. This, again, just furthered the idea for people that he is trying to absolve himself or his employees of any blame for being a part of the machine used to control narratives and
realistically, fact checks can only go so far because a lot of social media is based off of opinion, and then even if someone is making a statement as fact, who is to really say it's true or false? Obviously we have mathematics, but what's fact when it comes to politics? And if Facebook wants to say this is true, it can easily be biased towards what Mark Zuckerberg believes. So I would just always highly suggest anyone that's using social media, you can't believe everything that's on it. You have to do your own research.
Hate, suppress facts, and ultimately divide Americans. And whether or not this is a clever smokescreen or a genuine concern, it is clear that Mark does understand some major shifts in public discourse.
They trust the creators and the voices that they feel like are being authentic and giving them valuable information on there. So there's I think, going to be just this whole new class of creators who basically become the new kind of cultural elites that people look at and are like, okay, these are the people who give it to me straight. I think that's a thing that is, maybe it's possible because of social media.
But why does Mark all of a sudden feel like he needs to speak out against these issues? He says it's not because of the election, but then immediately contradicts that by saying how they try to make company decisions based on whatever the mainstream opinion is.
I mean, at this point, I think a lot of people look at this as like a purely political thing. It's because they kind of look at the timing and they're like, hey, well, you're doing this right after the election. It's like, okay, I try not to like change our content rules like right in the middle of an election either, right? It's like there's not like a great time to do this. It's,
right. And you want to do it a year later.
Yeah, it's like there's no good time to do it. There's,
right.
And whatever time is going on, there's going to be. The good thing about doing it after the election is you get to take this kind of cultural pulse as like, okay, where are people right now, and how are people thinking about it? We try to have policies that reflect, mainstream discourse.
Shifting gears after an election cycle isn't exclusive to Facebook. Businesses of this size are always cautiously straddling the fine line between opposing ideologies, doing their best to stay attractive in a turbulent political climate. But many believe that the only reason his perfectly timed shift in ideology is even remotely believable is because of his physical transformation, that this is all a highly calculated PR campaign. Nobody would buy a single word he is saying if it was coming from the empty-eyed, pale-skinned, horrible haircut, and robotic speech Mark Zuckerberg. The last time he tried to relate to us mortals, it made him look less human than ever.
I like racing. I don't know how many of you guys like doing that, but that's, I feel like all these activities, grilling meats, racing cars, are probably two of the most fun things that you can do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So he traded in the prim and proper cut for some modern messy curls, replaced the boring gray shirts for an oversized boxy fit streetwear tee and a long gold chain. But it doesn't stop at the surface. Mark even ditched the sedentary...
I'm not gonna lie to that. This does fit though. Like he looks, you know what I'm saying? He's looking like he's becoming a part of us at this point. Before, he literally looks like an avatar here.
And a long gold chain. But it doesn't stop at the surface. Mark even ditched the sedentary office.
And got the fit for me. Why Mark Zuckerberg copying the drip, man?
Lifestyle for the action-packed world of mixed martial arts, training with some of the most lethal fighters in the world. He often posts his black eyes and injuries, and even says that he would like to one day compete in a real MMA match. Suddenly, he becomes less of an enigma and more like someone you might meet at a local gym, grappling with the same struggles and setbacks as any aspiring athlete. He has expressed a newfound love for hunting. He even vowed that he will only eat meat that he has killed himself. And with this transformation, Mark thinks he has you fooled. He thinks that you can't tell that this is a PR campaign.
But when you're fighting, it's like, no, that's like, I think in some ways when people see me competing in this sport, they're like, oh no, that's the real Mark. It's like, because it goes back to all the media training stuff we were talking about when I'm going and giving my sound bites for 2 minutes. It's like, no, it's like, fuck that guy. It's like, that's the real one.
But why does he need you to like him or trust him? He is nearly the richest man in the world. He has over 3 billion people using his products. What more could he possibly need? Well, it could be argued that he is only now contributing to the narrative that our current world is borderline dystopian in hopes that those listening will flee to a world that he created, a world that he calls the metaverse. Zuckerberg rebranded the company as Meta on October 28, 2021, and conveniently during the heat of the pandemic, he revealed a new plan for an embodied internet experience, explaining it as a way to be inside of or one with the content, rather than viewing it on a screen.
All right, perfect.
Boy.
Oh, hey, Mark. Hey, what's going on?
Hi.
Mark.
What's up, Mark?
Whoa, we're floating in space?
Uh-huh.
Who made this place?
insane.
That's awesome.
Right? It's from a creator I met in LA.
This place is
I have still yet to put like those goggles on. Like I don't even know what it looks like inside of there.
Boz, that you?
Of course it's me. You know I had to be the robot, man.
I thought I was supposed to be the robot.
In true Zuckerberg fashion, he didn't create the metaverse. He just stole the name to make everyone think it was his brainchild. The metaverse is more of a general description of any immersive virtual world where people can work, play, and socialize. Roblox and VRChat are considered metaverse platforms. However, Facebook's version is called Meta Horizon Worlds, and it's an abysmal failure. Most people think this is just a bad video game with no storyline, no purpose, and horrible graphics. But Mark Zuckerberg genuinely believes that this is the future of human civilization, that we will all one day work, socialize, and play in this reality that he created. But it's not working. After investing $36 billion into this new venture, Horizon was only used by about 200,000 monthly users at its peak. Since then, it's been dropping in user base drastically. They got so desperate for new users that in August of 2024, they lowered the age gate to 10-year-olds, hoping to get the unsupervised youth addicted to his platform. But despite VR not going exactly to plan, Meta recently launched Orion, their augmented reality glasses that merge the digital and physical landscape.
Because right now, right now we have our phones, but we're it takes you away from like the physical environment around you. Mm-hmm. You're kind of like sucked into this little screen. I think now in the future, our computing platform, as it becomes more of like a glasses or eventually contact lens form factor, the internet is going to get overlaid on the physical world.
And if you can get past the big goofy frames, this does seem like really cool technology that has been glamorized in sci-fi movies for decades. But all it took was a couple motivated college students to show the dystopian dangers that these glasses provide.
We built glasses that let you identify anybody on the street.
To use it, you just put the glasses on, then as you walk by people, the glasses will detect when somebody's face is in frame. This photo is used to analyze them, and after a few seconds, their personal information pops up on your phone.
Oh, this is me volunteering. June Lee, right? Yeah. Oh my god. This photo was great. This is like from. You're from Bergen County Academies. Yeah. Your Korean name is Ju Yoon.
If that's what two bored college students could create, imagine what a $268 billion company could do. But the only thing Zuckerberg
But I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happens. Like with all these street security cameras, you have stoplight cameras on corners. Like that's what's going on. Face detection, and then all your information pops up.
The metaverse is artificial intelligence. Mark dubbed 2023 the year of efficiency, with Meta relying on more and more AI, which has resulted in tremendous layoffs. 86,482 people worked for Meta in 2022. Today, 67,317 people work there. That is 19,195 layoffs, or a 22% decrease in the workforce. But Zuckerberg thinks that this is actually a positive thing for humanity, that they will have more time to be creative.
A lot of the code in our apps and including the AI that we generate is actually going to be built by AI engineers instead of people engineers. But I don't know. I think that that'll augment the people working on it. So I mean, my view on this is like the future, people are just going to be so much more creative and are going to be freed up to do kind of crazy things.
And despite his relentless push for more AI and VR, despite him leading the charge to fuse computers and humans together so that they are one master species, the scariest thing that Mark Zuckerberg is doing is spending all of his time learning the most primal human skills. Take one scroll on Mark's Instagram and he is constantly posting from his isolated island ranch in the middle of the ocean, hunting, fishing, raising cattle, and learning how to defend himself. It's almost like he is preparing for a catastrophic event. He spent $187 million on 1,600 acres of land on the island of Kauai. This island is also not dependent on tourism, which means that it is currently self-sustaining and survivable. But even if it's not, he is building a 5,000 square foot underground bunker complete with its own energy and food supplies. He even shared a video to his Instagram of a massive movie theater built underground, so at least he won't be bored.
You do have a bunker there. Is there something you know that we don't?
No, I think that's just like a little shelter under, and it's like a basement.
A little shelter. What are you worried about?
A billionaire who
No, it's just a little shelter. It's just a basement. It's just a hole I dug underground. You know what I'm saying? It's just nothing crazy. 5,000 square feet. A 5,000 square foot home is getting close to a mansion. It could be technically a mansion. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. 5,000 square feet.
Artificially control the information of 3 billion people is not your friend. Mark likely doesn't want to connect with others in the metaverse, but he does want you and your kids there. And the money that you make for him will be used to keep himself isolated on one of the most beautiful, resource-abundant wonders of the world. He will spend the rest of his days having deep conversations with friends, singing songs to his children around a campfire, cooking feasts for his pack using antibiotic-free cattle that they raised, and fresh produce with 0 chemicals and preservatives. He will hunt, fish, fight, and learn how to build things with his hands. He will breathe fresh air, drink fresh water, and enjoy all the precious God-given resources in an age-old utopia. You, on the other hand, will own nothing, live in perpetual debt, spend nearly 100% of your time in the virtual world chasing fleeting moments of pleasure while your physical body withers away. Artificial intelligence will operate as an untouchable ruling class, controlling every facet of existence, optimizing society for profit while suppressing what little remains of human autonomy. You will be trapped in a dystopian hellscape, and you will love it.
But don't scare Negroes today with no...
Alright, fam, we're gonna leave that right there. That's the end of that video. Hope you guys did enjoy that video. Smash the like button. Also, comment down below any thoughts or opinions that you have on Mark Zuckerberg. What is his plan that he's up to with building that bunker? I mean, Patrick CC, I would say he definitely explained it very well. He's a lot of people are literally living in their cell phone as we speak. I mean, you're watching this video right now, but at the same time, this video is explaining to you the real world and the fake world. Being stuck in social media is like being stuck in a fake world. And then once people start wearing those glasses, it's literally going to be like, that's the new world in reality. But comment down below your thoughts and opinions, because I do enjoy reading them. Smash the like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications. I'm going to catch you guys in the next